The following statement, delivered by the 72-year-old Madame Gisele Pelicot at the end of the landmark rape case in France, not only brings an ending to 2024, but also delivers a message of hope for 2025. She said, I wanted to open the doors of this trial last September so that society can see what was happening. I have confidence in our capacity, collectively, to find a better future in which men and women alike can live harmlessly together with mutual respect. Madame Gisele Pelicot is a woman whose bravery shines as a beacon for the inspiration for justice. Refusing to be humiliated by the crimes of others, she agreed that the sex tapes that her ex-husband had been filming for almost a decade of strangers raping her while she was sedated be used as evidence in an open court, leading to the conviction of 50 men as well as her ex-husband, Dominique Pelicot. Words can almost not express my respect and admiration for this lady. Safe to say that her courage resonates in the spirit of womanhood, echoing all over the world. And I'd like to express my respect and gratitude to the security officer that spotted Dominique Pelicot, to the police officers, the journalists, the lawyers, and the judges who found these men guilty, and to her family and her followers who support her. Dr. Laurent Layette, a psychiatrist working at Montfavet Hospital and president of the Compagnie Nationale des Experts Psychiatrie près le Cul de Pelle, assessed 20 of the 15 defendants, including Dominique Lafayette. And he testified in the trial. In a BBC interview, Dr. Lafayette said, are they ordinary men? I cannot say, because that would be tantamount to saying all men are capable of such acts. And is reported to have said that they were not monsters, for most of them do not have the criminological profile of a serial killer. As a forensic profiler of serial killers and serial rapists, I disagree with Dr. Layette on this one point. The criminological profile of a serial killer is definitely not that they are monsters. Serial killers are ordinary people. And it is regrettable sometimes that medical experts, some of them, still perpetuate the public myth that they are monsters, that they are not human, or that they are superhuman. Ordinary men are quite capable of committing heinous and horrendous crimes. But this is certainly not tantamount that all ordinary men are capable of rape. I do agree that many men grasp the concept of consent and the definition of rape, but many men do not. And some men who still have the concept of rape and consent still rape, despite this. So hopefully Madame Gisele's triumph can rectify this flaw in society. Now, a summary is from 2011 to 2020, Madame Gisele's now ex-husband Dominique invited men to have sex with his drugged wife. And men with ages ranging from 24 to 72 and occupations ranging from truck drivers, journalists, a nurse, counselors, soldiers, a farm worker, software engineers, took him up on his online invitation. They traveled on an average range of 60 kilometers to arrive at the couple's home in the village of Mazan in Provence. Some of them were local and they just walked over to the house. Now, some of them were married, they were fathers, they were grandfathers, some of them were single. Some of them had prior criminal convictions ranging from drunk driving to domestic violence to burglary to sexual assault, violence, possession of child pornography, and even possession of weapons. Some apologized to Gisele. One admitted that her life was destroyed, and he commented on the effect that this would have on her children and her family. One apologized, and he said, we are not monsters. We are men like many others. The pertinent question on everybody's mind is, why would ordinary men have non-consenting sex with a drugged woman? Now, during their testimonies, motivations or excuses offered for their behavior ranged from sexual frustration. They said their partners were unavailable or their partners didn't want to have sex with them. They were bored. They were curious. They were lonely. Some of them were angry at women. Some pleaded deviant sexuality and they said they could not control their sexual urges. Others did it for fun. One said he had to end his bachelorhood because he was getting married. Now, many of these men suffered sexual abuse and physical violence when they were children and they were placed in foster care homes. Many abused alcohol and cannabis as children and as adults. Most of them did not have a happy childhood, which, believe me, is not an excuse for committing a crime. Dr. Layette also found no scientific relationships exist between a cause and effect of being a victim and becoming a perpetrator. And this is true. Not all victims of sexual abuse become perpetrators. But in my experience, it is not uncommon to find childhood sexual abuse in the history of a sexual perpetrator. This loop is a reflection on our society. What are we doing to our children? However, in this case, there were men who definitely did not cite an unhappy childhood as a reason. As a matter of fact, they said they had an idyllic childhood, which once again just proves that ordinary people can commit unpardonable crimes. For Dominique Pelicot, Dr. Layette offered a more complicated explanation. He said, and I quote, his mind became divided over time, like a partitioned computer disk, into two entirely separate watertight parts, with no leakage between them. His split personality is very effective and very solid. We either have the normal Mr. Pelicot or the other Mr. Pelicot at night in the bedroom. Now, this, in my opinion, is confusing, for the term split personality was, of course, pounced upon by the defense lawyer that Dominique Pelicot possibly suffered from a dissociative identity disorder, which is a serious and a very rare mental illness. One of the elements of this disorder would be that there exists completely different and separate personalities, which do not know about the others. Yet Dominique Pelicot saved the video recordings on his laptop. So how would the one personality save them and the other personality have access to the password? He also admitted his crimes to the police, so he had knowledge of them. There is no dissociative state in Dominique Pelicot's personality. And to imply there was no leakage is also not correct. Perhaps compartmentalize would have been a better choice of words than split personality. In my experience, serial killers also live very normal lives, and they hide the fact that they kill people for obvious reasons, and not because they have a dissociative identity disorder. I've met many of them, and they are not raving monsters. They are ordinary people. Now, Dr. Layette and others were struck by the arrogance and the confidence of Dominique Pelicot's demeanor and his lack of remorse, which I agree with is much more indicative of an antisocial personality disorder. In layman's terms, this is a psychopath. Diminished responsibility does not come into play in a personality disorder, but it can come into play in a serious mental illness like a dissociative identity disorder. Dominique Pelicot did not try to conceal his crimes. He openly discussed it online with his potential accomplices, and he invited them to his home, thus revealing his identity and his address. So his personality was certainly not split and not so compartmentalized that one side of him did not know what the other side was doing. He was just very good at masking it from his family, and probably like a typical psychopath, to use the layman's term, he enjoyed fooling them. Thus, there was a continuity between the two sides, that which he showed to the world, the facade, and that which he knew was true behind the mask. Now, most of the co-defendants claimed that Dominique assured them that they were participating in a sex game between him and his wife. However, the name of Pelicot's online chat room where he recruited the men was without her consent, which should refute their claim that they were unaware that she did not give consent. The handle without her consent has a two-pronged purpose. Not only in the legal one regarding consent, but also it gives a psychological clue to the motive as to why these men wanted to have sex with an inert woman. Perhaps the hidden motive in these cases is somnophilia, as recognized by Dr. Layette. This is a paraphilia in which an individual becomes sexually aroused by somebody who is unconscious. Or could there be an even darker, sinister motivation? A sexual attraction or act with the deceased person. To know more about these psychological phenomena, please read the article on my website, mickipistorius.co.za. Now, please give us your thumbs up if you like this channel, and please subscribe to us. And if you are serious about criminal profiling, and you are seeking an intellectual, eclectic approach, then please subscribe to my Patreon channel by clicking on the QR code. Thank you.